Welcome to another episode of Progress, Potential, and Possibilities, discussions with fascinating people designing a better tomorrow for all of us. I'm your host, Ira Pastor.
Welcome, everybody, again to another episode of our show, bringing you another really fascinating guest today. Today, we have the honor of being joined by Bonnie Brennan, who is president of Christie's America, which is part of the Christie's Global Auction House Network. Founded back in 1766, Christie's is a world-leading art and luxury business. They're renowned for their live and online auctions, private sales, and they offer a full portfolio of services to their clients, including art appraisal, art financing, international real estate, and education. And Christie's has a physical presence now across about 46 different countries throughout the Americas, Europe, the Middle East, and the Asian Pacific area. They are the only international auction house actually authorized to hold sales in mainland China. Ms. Brennan, previously to this role, served as the chairman of the business development group at Christie's, as well as senior vice president and senior director, head of trusts, estates, and wealth management services in the chairman's organization. And before joining Christie's organization, Ms. Brennan held over 15 years of experience in the auction business in a variety of marketing and leadership roles. She is a graduate of Northwestern University, where she holds a bachelor's in art history and communications. In addition to her leadership role at Christie's, Ms. Brennan also sits on a number of boards, including the Board of Trustees for the Cristo Rey New York High School, the Advisory Council for Calvary Hospital, and the Plan Giving Advisory Council for the New York Historical Society. We're honored to have her with us today. A lot of really interesting topics to get into today. But Bonnie Brennan, thank you so much for taking the time to come on the show.
Yeah, no, thanks for having me so much, Ira. It's nice to be with you.
It's great having you. I'd love to start off, Bonnie, by handing you the floor for a couple of minutes just to talk a little bit about your early journey, a little bit about how someone interested in art history ultimately made their way to running one of the world's largest auction houses. Take us a little bit on that early journey, if you would, Bonnie.
Yeah, sure. I'm a Midwesterner by birth. I grew up in the suburb of Detroit, Michigan. I, as you said, went to school in Chicago. I was lucky enough to really use the resources of Chicago in terms of internships and exposure to the arts. It's also, as you mentioned, I had a double major in both communications and art history. So was always interested in sort of the intersection of art and commerce. And I was lucky enough in sort of the late 90s to, after a few years working in the advertising business, to be hired by Sotheby's by a very brave and open-minded female who saw some of my skills from advertising, where you're constantly pitching for business. You're always asking your current clients to keep you as an agency and also looking for new clients. And so the person at Sotheby's saw that as a skill that they could use in trying to secure new consignments from collectors. So I joined Sotheby's in 97, and I worked there for 15 years in a variety of business development roles, really working with primarily families and their advisors. Oftentimes, estate property is the most exciting property that we offer at auction, and that also can be a very difficult time for families navigating that process, deciding what to keep, in some cases not having a choice, having to sell to pay taxes. So really working as an advocate for those people and helping them navigate and understand the auction process. So I did that until about now 11 years ago, when I joined Christie's in somewhat of a similar role. But I think what's been really fascinating is to watch the growth and the new areas that auction has really entered into. When I first started, we certainly weren't selling handbags and sneakers, and it's grown to be a new category of great importance to our business, and also a great way to introduce new clients to our business. So since 97, the market has changed a great deal, but I feel very lucky to be part of this business. It's exciting, it's fast paced, and the best part is the people, not only my passionate colleagues, but also the interesting clients that we get to engage with who tell us the best stories about their collecting journeys.
Excellent. And it's interesting, buddy, because it's very rare that I'll ever come across an organization that has its roots back in the 1700s. I come out of the biotech industry, and we have thousands of new companies every year created, and thousands go out of business. Say a couple words about the history and a little bit of the longevity of an organization like Christie's that obviously goes back before our country was started, but really goes back a couple centuries there.
Yeah, I mean, as you said, 1766, started in London. Christie started really as a seller of arts. Sotheby's, our competitor, started as a seller of books. As the years went on, we both entered those categories, and for many years we're very much, and still to some degree, are very focused on selling art and luxury goods to the world in a variety of categories. I think it started as auction and a sense of theater, and as we've seen in recent years post-pandemic, we've really had to convert that live auction, well, during the pandemic certainly, and as a result of that learning, have really transformed what was live theater into more of television programming. We have to captivate the interest of the people in the room, but we also have to make it interesting for all of those new clients who engage with Christie's digitally and watch our sales online. And it really forced us to evolve quite quickly out of real immediate need when the world shut down in March of 2020. How do we keep our business afloat? It was probably the singular greatest challenge we faced in the history of our business, because it really did put in question just the format. And thankfully, we have a great team at Christie's who were able to pivot, to call on outside vendors and resources to make sure that we could keep engaging with our clients. And actually, one of the best things was our clients were home. They were also eager to connect. Many of them got up to speed in terms of their own digital savvy and fluency, I should say, and came to Christie's looking for real content about art. That's their passion. And talking about art and learning about art and being with Christie's was a source of great peace and enjoyment to our clients during an otherwise tumultuous time in the world. And we found that when we put those sales online, we had a great response. The markets, as you know, did pretty well during COVID. So people had money to spend. They were home. They were looking at their walls more, thinking about what to edit, what to add. And as a result, we have a much wider, bigger network of clients globally who engage with us. And we, as I said, feel a responsibility to make sure we don't lose those clients by returning to an in-person only experience. But beyond the auction and how that's evolved, Christie's too has now evolved, as you mentioned in the beginning, to offer many services to our clients. It's not just auction, it's also private sales. Many people need or want to buy things outside of the traditional auction calendar: birthdays, anniversaries, holidays. And we're constantly matching buyers and sellers in a more discreet way to find people what they're looking for in through our private sale channel. We also offer, you mentioned appraisals, art finance. Many of our clients want to leverage their collections, use their art as collateral so that they can go on and do other things in their lives, whether it's buy more art or put their grandchildren through school. So we're really trying to figure out at Christie's how to be responsive to the full sort of ecosystem of our clients' needs.
Yeah, and Bunny, as we talk about, what we'll refer to as you just said, the sort of the digitization of the auction world, your organization, Christie's, has been really, influential in the sense holding a series of these art and tech summits on a variety of topics. And I find it fascinating. Nowadays, obviously, I I haven't been to an auction at Christie's, but I can imagine showing up and I want to bid on parcel 5, the Picasso, and parcel 12, the Ming vase, and then there's other parcels that don't have physical stuff in them anymore, and whether that's the metaverse or the mixed reality or the blockchain stuff, you've had to change the way, as you were saying offline, about how you think about some of these things, how you value them, how you present them. Talk a little bit about these summits and a little bit of sort of what you've been learning along the way in terms of these non-traditional assets that you have to work with.
Sure. Yeah, we actually just this past July had our 5th annual Art and Tech Summit. And what's been interesting is that every year we focus on a different area. We feel as with each sort of new avenue we go down, we have a responsibility to bring thought leaders together, share our knowledge and learning from the experiences we have had. Most notably, I think, and you saw in the papers when we had that exceptional sale of the Beeple, the first 5,000 days, back in March of 2021, which was took the world really. It was a real shock to the system. We had a work that one of our younger colleagues suggested we put in an online sale for a period of, I think it was about 10 days, and the work had a starting bid of $100. It was a true NFT, a digital artwork with no physical, tangible object. It was just the digital work and the NFT. And we saw that sell for over $69 million. So the world really woke up to the impact that NFTs had on the art world. We went on that year to sell additional NFTs in other categories, like photography, design. And then we also saw hybrids of unique works that carried an NFT but had a physical artwork attached to them, whether they were additional works by Beeple or a wonderful, really terrific digital artist named Rafik Anadol, who we actually had an installation right here at Rockefeller Center outside, right by the plaza where the Christmas tree usually sits during the holiday season. So one of our art and tech summits was dedicated really to NFTs that summer in 21. We've, of course, even before the Beeple, we've experienced with putting sales on the blockchain. We did that with the collection of Barney Ebsworth, a wonderful collector from Seattle. And in our prints and manuscripts department, they were back in 2018 very curious about AI and had a work included in their sale, which really set sort of a high watermark for AI works with a portrait that sold for just around $450,000. So we've always been trying to be good listeners about where the market is trending, where it's evolving, and also listen to what our clients want. And so certainly the NFT was the Beeple was a bit of a surprise about how many people wanted it and how much they were willing to spend for it. And we've really tried to build a business model that is prepared to have more of those moments. And as you know, Ira, that area of the world is constantly evolving and changing. And those art and tech platforms give us a chance to make sure that we're engaging with the thought leaders and we're on the forefront of where it's going.
Just a side note related to that, because you mentioned artificial intelligence, and maybe about 18 months ago, I had one of our shows was with a gentleman from the UK named Aidan Meller that has a robot, an artificial intelligence artist, and here they're creating actually a physical item, but the artist is it's kind of virtual in that context. Any interesting feedback you hear from I guess your millennial customers versus maybe your baby boomers about how they're greet sort of this future in terms of, hey, I know Picasso and I know Rembrandt, but what's this what's this artificial intelligence artist stuff?
Yeah, I think works created by algorithms are a whole different. Mark, we were the first ones to offer a work of that kind. I think we haven't seen a great uptick in volume of those works, but I think it's just a great example of whether it's that or NFTs. There's great curiosity in the digital space from our new buyers, as well as some of our very established buyers. I mean, when we had that hybrid work that I was telling you about by Beeple, it was wonderful. It almost looked like a huge telephone booth. It was a beautiful video work. We had very established collectors coming into our space saying, please take me to the people, show me that work. I want to see it. I want to understand it as much as I want to look at the Picasso that I came in to see. So that sort of the crossover of those established buyers curious about digital was great. Likewise, we had some of the digital first younger collectors learning more about Christie's through those NFT sales and coming and actually bidding on works by Warhol and Picasso. So it was a real meeting of the minds, which we were happy to provide the venue to have that happen.
Awesome. Benny, one of the themes that we've touched on recently in the show was sort of the evolution of the philanthropy space. Touching on topics like venture philanthropy, the concept of sort of collaborative philanthropy. How there may be sort of these major sort of moonshots that, even if you have Elon Musk or Jeff Bezos type money, you want to do things together as a group. So really interesting movement there. Obviously. The art world and the philanthropy world, they exist at an interesting intersection. You recently had some press release on the Paul G. Allen collection, which I think was the biggest philanthropic auction that the world's ever seen. Talk a little bit about sort of the intersection of the art and the philanthropy world and some of the initiatives that you have going on at Christie's on that front.
I think over the decades and hundreds of years, we've had many collectors who have built exceptional art collections who are also really noted philanthropists. And what's wonderful is a trend that we've seen, in particular in the last 5 years, is our collectors really leveraging or using their collections to continue their philanthropic legacies. One of the most notable examples 5 years ago was the collection of David and Peggy Rockefeller, which we sold for $835 million, and all of the proceeds from that sale went to benefit the charities that David and Peggy and their family supported during their lifetime. So that, I think, was a great signal to the market of being able to do this. And I would really credit the Rockefellers in that sale with bringing forth many other collectors who wanted to do the same thing. The Zucker family came to us and sold a great collection of works by Dievenkorn to benefit their family foundation. And even in the last year, we had great collections last year, and a number of them went wholly to charity. Doris and Thomas Amon, who had a wonderful portrait by Andy Warhol, it was called Shot Sage Blue Maryland, that sold for $195 million, but their collection sold for over $300 million, and it all went to support medical and educational services for children globally. The Getty family sold their Gordon and Ann Getty sold all of their furniture and decorations and artwork. That too went to charities that they support. And then, of course, Paul Allen, who has an incredible foundation supporting many causes, sold, he passed away several years ago, and this sale was held on behalf of the foundation. As you say, $1.6 billion, all for charity. So I think that's the best trend that we see in our market, is people really coming to market to say, hey, I want to do something good by selling my art. The Ukrainian war, we had some wonderful family, the Pinchuks, offer or donated a coons to our sale to raise money for Ukrainian war relief. So it happens all over for different causes, and big and small. And to me, I think it generates even stronger results, because who doesn't want to place one extra bid or bid on that particular item because it's doing some good for the world.
Excellent. And at the beginning, Bonnie, you mentioned, as you're talking about finance, you were talking about the art finance component of what Christie's does. Another area that's rather exciting that you recently got into was sort of this move into corporate venture capital. You created Christie's Ventures, looking at potentially early stage investments and a lot of the innovators that impact the arts and luxury businesses. Can you talk a little bit about some of what you have going on there? Because I find the sort of the transition from venture capital to corporate venture, where there's more of a strategic interest in where some of this money is going, is really a very important trend as we move into 2023.
No, it's great. And I think, like you say, our focus in ventures, we have a terrific partner who had a long career at Microsoft, who was very engaged with us during all of our digital growth, whether starting with Beeple, and has been an integral team member on all of our art and tech discussions, and is now leading that arm for us. We're really looking at early stage companies that also have relevance to our business. And so we have identified through an investment team here under his direction some of those companies to really explore. One that's been incredibly successful for us is a hologram company called Proto. Mm-hmm. It is a company that we looked at to use at first, and then it became really they were such a great partner to us that then we went on to become investors in their business. It's allowed us also to continue some of our corporate goals around sustainability. The use of the hologram allows us to share works of art globally without actually having to transport the works, which is great. As I said, in a sustainable way, it also helps with the preservation and care of those objects, which many times can be quite fragile. So the proto hologram technology allows us to share, whether it's an object like a sculpture. We put a Degas 14-year-old dancer bronze in the hologram machine and shared it on the West Coast as well as in Asia. We had a great Giacometti from the Givenchy collection we used the machine for, but we can also use it for jewelry, for sneakers, for handbags. It's a wonderful tool, and it's been great because we have clients, some of the clients who saw the hologram machine in our regional offices said, oh, I actually thought I was looking at the real object in a vitrine. So that's an example of one where we've been able to use the technology and we've also become investors.
Awesome. So, Bonnie, I was a child of the late 1960s, early 70s. I grew up watching the television show Good Times. I have a copy of Marvin Gaye's "I Want You" album over here, and my entire life until I talked to you recently, I never knew I was looking at a picture of the Sugar Shack. Painting by Ernie Barnes, which I understand it was recently part of one of the Christie's auctions. Obviously, Christie's has such an expansive global footprint nowadays in terms of its clients across multiple countries. Talk a little bit about sort of the diversity side of things in terms of the artists and a lot of the trends that you're seeing in terms of some of the parcels that you're involved in.
Yeah. The Sugar Shack was a wonderful moment in our May sales, which I have to say, our May sales were the venue where we had three major collections. Sugar Shack really stood alone. It wasn't part of those headlines. It hung in our galleries. As you said, it was the used in the credits of Good Times. It's the cover of the Marvin Gaye album. It hung in our galleries. People stopped. It's very formidable when you stand in front of it. But the market for Ernie Barnes, the artist, was somewhat modest, but when it came to market, a few $100,000 was the estimate. It sold for $15.3 million, and I think it really shows the appetite to celebrate diverse artists. We've seen that with Barnes. We've seen that also with a number of female artists, other artists of color, and I think that like the cross section of art and philanthropy is another great trend. And we want to make sure we as an organization are giving a platform and a voice to those sort of previously underrepresented artists. We actually gave birth to a whole new sale called the 21st Century Art Sale, just so that we could have a platform to sell those works and to make sure that our Christie's global client base was introduced and could see the beauty produced by so many of these artists. And I think the Barnes market since the Sugar Shack has taken off. She's become, you walk an art fair now or a gallery and you're much more likely to see work by Ernie Barnes since that moment. So we're always happy when we can really shine a light on talent that maybe had been previously overlooked.
Bonnie, human rights and the art world. Christie's has, the statement in terms of zero tolerance, in terms of, where the materials are sourced from. And obviously, you have to concern yourselves in a 2023 world that has these important societal issues still, going on. Talk a little bit about just the importance of sort of that piece. Obviously, you have the works, but nonetheless, you still have to go through an extensive review process on sort of the source and the origins of some of these materials. Just to say a few words, if you would, about the importance of this component of sort of zero tolerance to some of these activities in Christie's business.
Absolutely. I think it's so core to our values as a company, and part of our process for any consignment across any category is a really in-depth research and clearing of provenance or title of an object. We also have global committees that that review what we sell. Is what we're offering in line with what we as a company represent? I think you and I talked a little bit about jewelry and where sourcing of that material. And I think, Christie's is a company that is absolutely supportive and encouraging of sustainable and ethical mining. And we take a very careful eye to make sure, whether it's jewelry or painting, that the provenance is clear. This is the year, the 25th anniversary of the Washington Principles. We have, which was a whole committee and conference on restitution, really acting on how one looks at Nazi looted art, and Christie's was very much a part of that conference 25 years ago, and it's also a big part of the due diligence we put in to make sure to study the provenance and the line of ownership, and work with families and claimants to make sure that when we come up against those that have questionable wartime provenance, that we are part of the solution in having them returned to their or shared with their rightful families who lost those works during the war. So I think every day, regardless of whether it's a 18th century dueling pistol or a stone, we're constantly reviewing, should Christie's be selling this? And we have, as you said, 100 years of reputation to maintain, and so we take that part of our business very seriously.
Absolutely. What's coming up for 2023? Any new initiatives that you want to mention? Other programs, specific philanthropic events? Anything else that I did not touch on? Please enlighten us.
Yeah, we actually, in the next few weeks, we have a really great sale here at Christie's in New York. It's the estate of Andre Leontali, who many people know from his days as an editor at Vogue, but he was also a great philanthropist. All the proceeds from his estate sale, will go to support two churches, one, the Abyssinian Baptist Church in Harlem, and a church in Durham, North Carolina, where he was raised, the Mount Sinai Church. So that's going to be a great sale, true sort of personality sale. His belongings, his clothing, he had over 70 pieces of luggage. Just a great sort of personal look at a very big and colorful life. He was a great mentor to a number of young artists, whether they were fashion artists or visual artists, and just a really citizen of the world. We talked about art and tech earlier. We're going to take that art and tech platform on the road and host our first art and tech summit in Dubai in March, which will be great. And then I think what you'll also see is a continuation of collections. Last year, we had great results when collections came to market, and we hope that we believe that this year will be another great opportunity for terrific storytelling about some collectors who will bring their collections to market this year.
Excellent. Really excellent. Yeah, it's fascinating hearing not just about obviously your career journey and how far you've come with all this, and obviously the development over the centuries for Christie's, but once again this very unique intersection, as you've enlightened us to art and the luxury world with technology, innovation, and a lot of what we see in other industries, how it's all coming together in your business as well. So a really exciting story, and I really just appreciate you sharing it with us. For everybody that is going to be listening to this particular episode of our show across the various podcast networks or watching on our YouTube channel, again, you've been listening listening to Bonnie Brennan, president of Christie's America. Bonnie, again, I want to thank you for taking the time out of your schedule to come talk to us for a little while about what you're doing, and just really wishing you the best for all this as you continue to grow this fascinating and evolve this fascinating centuries-old business. So thank you again for spending
Thanks,
time
Eric.
with us.
Come see us at Christie's.
Definitely, most definitely.